I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
All right, man. Here we go for some NBA talk. I just wanted to start off with the Watch Bomb of the Year. I don't know if y'all saw it on Twitter. Watch came out with this release that the NBA is gonna start one day earlier than expected. After all, man, and the way he dropped it, I thought, oh man, what's it gonna be? It's gonna be something special. Man, I don't know what Watch was doing with that one. It just the way he released it, he should have done something different. I mean,
yeah.
What's y'all's thoughts on that one?
One day closer to July 28th, bro.
Yeah. Wash can do what he wants, though. Wash can do what he wants.
I guess he's earned it, right? I guess.
Yeah, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but everybody thought this guy Shams was gonna take Wash out, but Wash is still the one breaking the main news on my timeline, as far as I'm concerned. So Wash can do what he wants. Yeah.
Hey, bro, what if everybody was making the pachanga for July 31st, bro? And now it's July 30th. I mean,
pachanga back on time.
You gotta roll with the plans. The pachanga's on Saturday now, and they're not Sunday.
All right. Well, with that being said, this week, we thought the vibe for the most part was we want to get back to work for the NBA, right? It seemed like that was the way it was going, but as y'all know, something that overshadowed everything this weekend as far as sports for me goes, Kyrie held a players-only phone call, I believe, right? Players-only, 80 participants, and basically saying, I'm not down with the systematic racism. I don't think we should go back to work. I don't think we should play. Then you have people like Austin Rivers who came back and said, hey, man, we should get back to the courts. We should play. We should use our platforms. We can use this money. Some of us need the checks. We're not making Kyrie money, Dwight Howard money. We're not sitting in our mansion saying that. And then you got Pat Bev, who's like, hey, it don't really matter what anybody says. LeBron says we're playing, we're playing.
Also true.
Yeah. And then today, Kendrick Perkins comes out saying, oh, if you put Kyrie's brain in a bird, it would fly backwards, just basically dismissing Kyrie's take. And I think that is messed up considering Kyrie's, what the lead of the NBA Players
he's
Association,
the vice president
or the VP. He's up there. He's selected.
VP3 point guard's still the president.
So his voice obviously matters to the players.
For sure.
So given with everything that I've talked about as far as that situation over the weekend, I kind of want to see what side are y'all on? Are y'all on Kyrie's side? Y'all on PERK side? You agree with Austin? Or you agree with Pat Bev maybe? Hey, no matter what anybody thinks. Bron says we play, we play. What's the situation? Where y'all at?
First of all, I just think it's insane that we're having this conversation at this point of the process, because everything's already gotten approved for people to come back. Everybody thought everything was going to be perfect, and that's all that every player wanted to do was come back and play. But then you have freaking Kyrie Irving coming out of nowhere, the flat earther, come out of nowhere and say, hey guys, I'm not with all of this, and I'm not dismissing what he's saying. I think what he's saying holds some weight. I don't think he's being facetious. I don't think he's trying to convince everybody that the world is flat. I think he's trying simply the best way that he knows how to raise a point, make a issue about it, and he's trying to find a solution. But I agree kind of with what Perkins is saying as far as, hey, Kyrie, you were involved in this whole process the whole time. You were on all of these calls as we were approving what was going on and who was going to play and what was going to happen and how this whole thing was going to shake out. And you voted to come back and play. So why now all of a sudden are you coming out and making a big deal of everything and trying not and trying to create a faction of players that don't want to come and play. Why are you trying to prevent this from coming back and happening? And part of me, the cynic, and just me being just a guy that just likes to have fun and just make things up in my head, is I just think Kyrie's just trying to shit on LeBron's last chance to win a trophy over here. Just trying.
Last chance, key word, Justin. All right.
No, it is his last chance. I mean, I think we've been pretty adamant about that since this whole thing. But anyways, that's not the point. I think that Kyrie he's bringing up a good point, but come on, man. Like, I think Perkins has a good point. You weren't saying all of this a few weeks ago.
Hey,
so what's changed?
Is this the first time you've agreed with Perkins ever?
This is the first time I've ever agreed with Perkins in my life. I think look, career-wise, he played in the NBA a long time. I think over 10, 12 years. He's in the NBA a long time. He definitely got his due. But he's a career 5-5 guy. Like, he tries really, really hard to be that athlete take, or he always tries to have that take, like, hey, I actually played in the league, you need to listen to me, kind of a deal, which I respect sometimes, but he goes overboard with it a lot, and he tries to be different a lot of the time, I feel. And actually, on this take per se, I wouldn't talk all that kind of crap about Kyrie and the bird in his brain going backwards, because I actually think he means what he's saying, Kyrie. But Perkins does bring up some good points. I can't deny that at all.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Perkins is the best player either, but I mean, he was a starting center on a championship team, and you could say he brought the attitude to that team along with Garnett and Rondo and those guys. But other thing is, Perk is one of LeBron's boys. I don't think
Good
that
point.
he should have. I didn't hear about that. You know, it's a bird's brain. He'd fly backwards, but I know that he did call him an idiot on national television. And I think that in this scenario, like, he's not even going to be playing. So if Kyrie doesn't want to play, we all agree with the movement that's happening. But these players playing on national TV, it's a way bigger platform for them to take their fight to that platform than just walking the streets and hoping that CNN will play that NBA players were at a protest or something. Here, you can do it on national TV. You can kneel like all these soccer players across the globe are kneeling.
They had Black Lives Matters on their jerseys today.
I'm telling you.
That was really good.
Yeah, you can wear that I Can't Breathe shirt.
I don't understand how this could take the attention away from what the fight is right now if the players are all on the same page and pushing that on this platform that they're given. What's the problem? Where's it going to stop? The problem is, Kyrie, you're not going to be in the playoffs. So you can stay and you can go to the rallies and protest and let LeBron and Westbrook and Giannis and all these other guys promote that on ABC and on ESPN where the games are being played.
On primetime.
You know? In primetime.
No, that's a great point.
So I don't think that it takes away from the fact we're all behind it. We're all behind the whole movement, but you can't say that this takes away from it when all these players are going to be down with they're all down with it. LeBron can promote his just vote thing.
There are some players that are taking up with Kyrie, though. I mean, granted, it's been Avery Bradley, who I respect his opinion as well. I'm sure he's been, and he actually has made a few statements about it, just wanting to see action before anything happens. And then Dwight Howard also came out. That's two guys on the Lakers. Just want to keep track, just for betting and keeping track of who's down to play and whose mind is in it or not.
Guys who play.
And they both are contributors on that team. So just be on the lookout for that, Lakers fans.
And maybe like with Dwight, he's not necessarily a guy who needs to check either, who can kind of sit home.
Exactly. And I think, and I didn't mention that, but I think that's a very, very valid point for a lot of these guys to come back and play and be like, Kyrie, I understand what you're saying here. You're making a great point, but hey man, I need the money. Like, I know everybody here wants to assume that NBA players, like every NBA player that is in the NBA, makes this lavish life or has this lavish lifestyle and is flush with cash, but that's just not the point. I mean, that's just not the case, excuse me. I mean, they have to pay their agents, they have expenses throughout the year that they have to pay for, their trainers, personal trainers, blah, blah, blah. A lot of these guys,
even then you gotta
exactly, some of these guys, as hard as it is to believe, and I'm going to use this phrase, and a lot of us are familiar with, but a lot of these guys are living paycheck to paycheck. You think that everybody is living lavishly, but that's not the case for a lot of these minimum wage players. And the NBA, granted, minimum wage is hundreds of thousands of dollars, but their lifestyle, the way that they live sometimes is
and
gonna take
maybe
that.
they have different investments that we're not aware
Exactly.
of to keep up with. And
Yeah, so some of these guys need the money to
And
play, and they
Austin
just don't have the.
Rivers- Austin Rivers is a guy who took a pay cut to stay with Houston because he liked the system and how it allows him to play.
And
Free
Kyrie,
shoot.
and Kyrie's one of those guys that he's on a max contract right now. He got paid lavishly in Cleveland. He's made his money. He's made over 120 million in less than 10 years in the NBA. I mean, he's pretty good right now, unless he's blown it. So he also is speaking. He's speaking.
Smart. Yeah,
He's speaking from a position of a player that is flush and does not really have to worry about playing. And that's why Perkins said, hey, bro, if you're really talking like this, then do it.
Do the cap. Do the cap.
Then do it. So it's interesting to see where Kyrie's going to go with this, because Kyrie's just one of those guys. He's a thinker. Obviously, he had that whole flat earth thing, whether or not he's being serious or not, but his mind is just out there. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I like people who think about the world and different things differently, not necessarily because you can tell he's not trying to do it. That's just the way that he is. At least that's the way that I take it. I think it's genuine. But sometimes, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, and I don't think it makes sense in this case.
Nope.
yeah, I'm definitely with Austin Rivers on this. I think that's the best thing to do, is use your platform here. And everybody's going to be all eyes on these primetime games. You're one of the only sports back. You got press conferences that you're going to be able to use. Use your platform here. Here's a good chance.
I agree. And one thing that we didn't talk about, and just to make this, I think this is a little bit, just a little lighthearted, at least for me, is Pat Beverly just coming out of nowhere and tweeting, yo, it doesn't matter what you guys think. If Bron wants to play, we're going to play. So that makes me think that Patrick Beverly might not necessarily be with the whole coming back and playing or whatever. And we didn't even mention there's a faction of players that are uncomfortable with the coronavirus.
Pat Bev wants to play, Roland.
Yeah, I know Pat Bev wants to play. He's a dog, for sure.
Well, do you know about Pat Bev's history with the whole Kaepernick thing and all that?
No, I'm sure he's for it. I'm sure
he's not.
Movement. Oh, he's not?
Remember he said, I used to play in Europe,
yeah.
so
I'm
down to be over here and didn't care about the kneeling and all that.
I'm sure he's indifferent. Then I guess that's probably
let's use that.
He's indifferent about it, but I just think it's crazy that Patrick Beverly is coming out here and saying that, it doesn't really matter what everybody else thinks. LeBron's going to decide what we're doing, pretty much. So that just makes me think two things. One, Patrick Beverly's just trying to stir something up with LeBron. and two,
it's definitely a shot.
It's just LeBron has the weight.
But is it a shot if it's the truth?
I think it's a shot, but it is the truth.
Yeah, I mean, you got ammo. It's the shot.
And I think he's just like saying,
it's the truth, though. It's a shot.
Yeah.
Adam Silver ain't calling CP3, man. He's calling LeBron.
Oh, hell yeah.
And one thing is, we have seen LeBron be kind of quiet throughout all this NBA comeback stuff. Since he said, I haven't heard anybody saying it's not coming back. But since then, he's been more on fighting for the cause at hand right now.
For sure, but he made it clear that he wanted to come back.
Oh yeah,
he did make it clear.
I'm sure he's in the lab right now.
Yeah.
Well, he's biting his tongue.
in the lab.
He's biting his tongue at all this Kyrie stuff. He's biting. He's got Big Perk doing his dirty work for him.
For sure, he's biting his tongue.
Pays to have friends like that, right?
He's texting Perk what to say.
He hates Kyrie right now. I guarantee it. He hates Kyrie right now.
Yeah. Hey, is anybody else got anything else to say on this topic before we move on here?
No, man. I think that's good.
Hoping everything comes back smoothly.
Yeah, seriously. Me too. That's it for NBA Talk, guys. This week, man, the theme seems to be with some of the top fighters that move the pay-per-view needle. Dana, and just not happy with the deals that they have, current contracts, and they kind of feel like Dana's been strong arming their deals. Masvidal just came out and said, "Hey, you know, I was on a 6-fight deal, and I was kind of told take it or leave it, even though I've kind of earned my shot. You know, I'm the one that's selling these pay-per-views. I'm the one that's moving the needle. Yet Dana's here, take it or leave it, and they're not letting me be the independent contractor that I supposedly am, and going to see where my worth's at a different location, maybe a different fighting system. Like, hey, one championship this week added 70 million in crowd funds this week. They're the biggest Asian promotion now. They've made over 360 million in profit over this whole pandemic. And
how many fights have they had to make that profit?
They're making it just by the crowdfunding. I don't even think they're putting on the fights. It's the investments that they're getting into the promotion right now. So they're really we're gonna be able to start competing soon.
But we can't expect. Well, the crowdfunding doesn't mean you're going to be able to compete. It's going to be whether
to pay these people. And so George Masvidal, what he's saying is, hey, I'm getting strong armed. You're not even letting me give me a chance. If I'm an independent contractor, let me go get my value. Let me go see what the market is on me. You're not even letting me do that. So am I really an independent contractor here? Because independent contractor means you're only contracted
for the contract you signed.
For the contract you signed. So they're limiting him because they're strong arming him in a sense. You get no market here.
Justin, he signed the contract though. Like, they didn't force him to sign the contract.
I'm just saying what was presented. I'm with you, Ben.
And I get it. And I understand that he said that they gave him the contract the night before and they said take it or leave it. You know, kind of make up your mind. You have less than 24 hours. But if, you know, one championship hasn't had an event. The UFC has had 5 events. One championship hasn't had an event yet. Masvidal can't go see his worth over there if they're not fighting. That's one. And 2 is, if you have a 7-fight deal and the UFC's at least trying to talk with you and restructure, maybe they're not meeting your shit. Maybe they're not meeting your limit or your threshold that you want. But do they even have to be negotiating with you if you're signed for 6 more fights?
No.
You know, playing devil's advocate. I love George Masvidal. Yeah. I wish he would have fought, but that's why Gilbert Burns got the fight. And you know what? Tyron Woodley said, I'm not going to take a fight against a guy that's just looking for a come-up. How big was Gilbert Burns' come-up?
That's pretty big.
Tyron Woodley fight.
Dominated him. Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. I think I agree with everything that you guys said as far as, hey, he signed the contract. It's you know, ink on paper. You know, you can't really go back on that. I understand everything that's to be said with that. It's just a little hard for, like, I think we talked about this last podcast a little bit. So it's hard for these guys at the top. Like we said, there's different tiers of these UFC fighters, man. This isn't for every UFC fighter out there. Like, this isn't for the... I'm not trying to throw shade, but I'm just thinking like Drew Dober. Like, he's not drawing people, or even for a big name, Kamaru Usman.
He really doesn't. The guys making 50-50, 70-70.
Or Kamaru Usman.
We're talking about $500,000 or more.
I'm talking about guys who drive the needle, guys who you turn the TV on, you buy the pay-per-view when they're fighting and you want to watch them fight, whether they're the lead or, I mean, the main event, the co-main event, or they're just a come-up fight on the main card. You know, those are the guys, George Masvidal, so we all know the usual suspects, the guys that are retiring and whatnot. All these guys kind of have a point to want to restructure and whatnot, and not want to fight unless they're getting paid for it. And I'm kind of on their side, but at the same time, I just don't know realistically what they can do. I think they just really have to try and work with the UFC as best as they can. Because right now, I think Ben brought up a good point, and I think he brought it up last podcast as well. The UFC is the only show in town in terms of mixed martial arts competition. They're the only ones fighting right now. So
and still recruiting.
And they're the only ones that have infrastructure to do this thing. I'm pretty sure Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series is going to come back pretty soon.
It is.
So they're like Ben said, they're still recruiting. They're still the ones getting the regional talent in there, while all the other promotions are on the sides. So they have the leverage right now. So while I'm on the fighter side, I don't know what they can do.
I think Dana has all the leverage right now. What the fighters can do is start a union of some sorts. I know they tried starting it with Cerrone and them, and they kind of disbanded. But when you restart the union, what you need to do is honestly just go over who makes what. Because a lot of times when they're negotiating blind. They don't know what the next person made. Usman could have made, 100K, and George doesn't know Usman's making 100K, and he's negotiating at a number that's not even close. Or maybe he could be negotiating even lower when his worth is higher. So what needs to come out is these managers need to band together, create some sort of alliance or union between the management, and say, hey, my fighters are getting X dollars to help these fighters negotiate their contracts better when negotiation time's coming up. Because if you don't do that for the remainder of the UFC, Dana White will always have the leverage.
So you're saying their contracts, their agreements should be announced the way NFL and NBA contracts are announced?
They don't have to announce it to the public, but announce it to the union or whatever they create, that alliance, make it public record there, so that hey, I'm at least this guy. I should be getting that guy's money at minimum, or I'm worth more.
I also think there needs to be a little bit more transparency.
Transparency
between
is what I'm asking for.
What the UFC is like truly bringing in on these events, and what the true revenue split is. Because Masvidal, he brought up a number. I think he said it was like a 17% split that the fighters got off of the revenue, and which Dana White was like, oh, well, we all know George Masvidal is a mathematician or whatever, blah, 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 laughed him off. But I'm pretty sure he's on to something as far as it's being pale as it would be pale in comparison to some of these other revenue splits for some other sports out there. Because the UFC tries to run like an organization like the NFL. They're not like boxing. They try and run like a full organization. So I think there should be a better revenue split if there is a problem that there appears to be.
If Ali Abdelaziz decides to band with other managers and form a union, he will never have another guy fight for a title again, bro.
The thing is, right now, Ali's Dana's guy, and that's the first guy that won't do a union.
But that's what it would take. I mean, you said all the managers don't even like each other. First of all, they beef.
Yeah, the managers don't
absolutely, like and you got to put the beef away for the interests of your talent.
But if Ali's talent's getting taken care of, who cares about Melky's talent? Who cares about?
But that's the thing. Ali's talents are all. If you look at them, they're all taking the lesser dollar, except maybe Khabib.
Well, Henry, didn't he retire? Isn't he a client of police or no?
Yeah. All right. Well, that was it for the quick hitters on UFC. We got a card coming up. It's Curtis Razor Blades versus Alexander Drago Volkov. That's going to be this Saturday. Ben, you want to take it away for this UFC card?
Yeah, before I do that, real quick, I want to run through the current standings, the weekly standings. We had 4 fights to pick from last week after the Dvalishvili fight got scrapped because he changed opponent. So we got Roland Z at 22.3. We got Justin at 20. I'm at 22.75. Josh at 9.4, Gabby at 20.85, John at 11.70, Mondo at 17.2. Still losing to Gabby. Roland G at 9.8, Izzy at 13, Diego 16.35, Steven 9.15, and Rexa 9.8. We didn't end up having a consensus pick for the podcast last week. So the record is still 2-2 minus 1.5 units. With that being said, let's get into this card. We're going to be picking 6 fights. So we're picking 5 fights on the main event and 1 of the prelims just because it's good. I'm going to start from the top. So like Justin said, Curtis Razor Blades coming in with a 13-2 record. minus 400 against Alexander Drago Volkov, 31-7, plus 290. So Curtis Blades trains at Team Elevation. Interesting fact with him, he's been favored in every single one of his UFC fights, including 2 fights against Ngannou, which he did lose. Again, he's a 4-1 favorite in this fight. Great fight IQ. He's a wrestler, so he does tend to take his guys down. Mean ground and pound. We saw what he did to Overeem with those elbows and cut up Overeem. So in my honest opinion, he's got the best ground and pound in the division. His only 2 losses in the UFC being to Francis Ngannou, one due to doctor stoppage, a cut on his eye. The doctor actually stopped it, and the second one, he did get TKO'd. Volkov, he's a striker, 6'7", so he tries to use his frame just to strike against people. He recently got knocked out by Derek Lewis. He was winning pretty much the whole fight. Derek Lewis caught him at the end, hit him with some nasty ground and pound. Prior to this fight, Volkov did fight Greg Hardy. We know Greg Hardy took that fight on short notice. We talked about it on the podcast, I believe. We were back by then, but he lost to Volkov by decision. This is a big step up for Volkov. I expect Curtis Blades to take him down and ground and pound him quick. Probably second round, I'd say Blades.
I agree 100%. Ben did a great job of dressing that fight up. Blades, I have to agree with Ben, has vicious ground and pound. Every time I've watched him, I mean, he lives up to his nickname as a razor with those elbows. I mean, you don't want to be on the receiving end of those elbows, man. So this one's pretty easy for me. I'm going Curtis Blades.
Curtis Blades, ground and pound all day.
Yep, it would be interesting to see like him against Stipe, because with how easy DC was able to take Stipe down, I think Curtis Blades would be able to get him down.
He's at the top of the division. I mean, he's up there for a reason. I mean, what's his ranking right now?
2.
4 or number 3?
2.
Oh, it's number 2. Okay, yeah.
Who did Blades lose last to?
I'm sorry, he's 3 because Ngannou's 2, Blades is 3. Blades' only 2 losses have been to Ngannou. That's it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
he's up there, man.
He's beaten Overeem. He's beaten
JDS, beat Willis.
Yeah, and all finishes.
And Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, Blades will definitely, I think, be getting a title shot sometime in 2021 after Ngannou gets his against the winner of whoever fights. But anyways, up next in the featherweight division, Josh Emmett, 15-2. He's plus 105. He's a short underdog against Shane Hurricane Burgos with a 13-1 record. He comes in at minus 135. Josh Emmett, we know he's a Team Alpha Male fighter. Pretty much fought out of there his whole career out of Sacramento. Since moving up to 145, which is like his last 5 fights, he's got a 100% knockdown rate.
That's crazy.
So even when he fought Jeremy Stevens and he got finished by Stevens, he got knocked down and rattled, and then Stevens hit him with like a dropping elbow that ended up fracturing his orbital, and he had to sit out a whole year due to getting surgery to that. But Emmett relies on his power, man. He's pretty jacked. The dude's jacked. Relies on his power. He was a wrestler in college and even in high school. I doubt that he uses his wrestling in this fight, though, and I'm pretty sure that he's just going to be hunting for the knockout. Shane Burgos, on the other hand, like we said, short favorite. He trains out of Tiger Showman MMA up in New Jersey with like Jimmy Rivera. Uriah Hall used to train up there. Several MMA fighters train up there. His last loss was to Calvin Kattar. We saw Calvin Kattar knock out Jeremy Stevens recently. Calvin Kattar, a pure striker. And Shane Burgos was actually winning the fight against Kattar, but he put his hands down and Kattar caught him with an uppercut that dropped him. And then Kattar followed up with some ground and pound and finished him. Burgos is a cool guy, man. I know Justin and I have had interactions with him on Twitter. Real cool dude. I hate to pick against him here, but that 100% knockdown rate, it can't leave my mind. So I'm going to go with the short dog here, and I'm going to take Josh Emmett to get the finish, because if it goes decision, I see Burgos outpointing him. So I'm expecting Emmett to get the finish at some point.
Yeah, like you said, we've had some interaction and we follow Burgos. The thing about Burgos and the Emmett fight that scares me, that 100% knockdown rate. Burgos sometimes likes to keep his hands down when he's throwing those punches and he's not blocking, and that's what happened with Calvin in that Calvin fight. And man, I don't want to pick against Burgos, therefore I'm not, because he's kind of the homeboy a little bit, and that's just a sentimental pick, and I got Burgos winning.
Nice, Just.
Yeah, so this one for me, it just comes down to, the point fighter versus the guy who's going to be, head hunting and looking to take you out. And if Burgos isn't going to try and avoid confrontation with Emmett and, pick his shots and stuff like that and play a defensive fight, then I'm going to have to take the short dog here and just watch this fight excitingly, hoping for a knockout. So I'm going with Josh Emmett.
And Roland, just to follow up on that, Burgos did do an interview with John Anik, and he said he's looking for the finish.
Oh, well,
so I don't expect him to point fight. I think that he's coming out to make a statement. Him and Josh Emmett both. I mean, whoever wins this fight, they're really in contention. One more fight, and you're fighting for a title. I know Calvin Kattar recently got booked, maybe yesterday or today. I forget who his opponent was, but you win one fight, and you're right there for a title fight. So you got Emmett also, Roland?
Yes, sir. I'm taking a short
Justin's
dog.
got Burgos. All right. Roger that. Coming up next, we're going to get through this one quick because in the women's bantamweight division, Rocky Pennington, 10-8, minus 145 favored against Marion, the Brazilian Bruiser, Renal, 9-5-1, plus 115 dog. Pennington, 32 years old, fights out of Team Altitude up in Colorado. Her wife is actually Tisha Torres. She's on the card. She's on the undercard. Yeah, so they're both fighting on this card. She's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Holly Holm. She tends to lose to the elite competition. She's lost to Amanda Nunes. She's lost to Holly Holm. Renal, 42 years old, and on fight night, she turns 43. So she's going to have 11 years on Pennington. She's coming off back-to-back losses also. So kind of a girl who really hasn't gotten the hint that she needs to call it a career. I expect the same to happen here. I'm not saying that Pennington's going to knock her out, but Pennington will get her up against that short octagon cage, take her down, maybe a little bit of ground and pound. I see Pennington winning a decision, 29-28.
Yeah, I'm just not much thought into this one for me. I'm going with Raquel Pennington. Simply, it's just what I know. I've seen her fight more than Renal, so I'm just more comfortable going into a competition, taking Raquel Pennington. So that's where I'm going with my pick.
Age here just stands out to me so much, that 42 years old. I don't really know a lot about her either. I'm not going to say I've seen all her fights. I'm pretty sure I've seen, and back-to-back losses, that's never good. Let's just go with Rocky on this one. Pennington gets the win.
Consensus.
And
No?
I'm not going to consensus a women fight, brother. All right, this is the bathroom break fight. Okay?
This is very sexist of you.
I know. That's
I'm not being sexist,
Let
bro.
it be known that Ben is sexist.
Okay, fine.
No. We can't have these narratives going on. No.
I'm out here creating more fake news for Ben.
Throw down. Come on. I just don't want to do a consensus on a women's fight, bro.
That's fine.
Right?
That's fine.
I think we might have a consensus later. Look, hey, bro.
Okay, go on. Let's go on with the fights.
All right. Good. Welterweight division. We got Lyman the Cyborg Good, 21-5 record, plus 110 against Bilal. Remember the name. Muhammad. All right. And Ramadan's over, baby.
Damn.
So this fight was supposed to happen in April, actually. Lyman Good got COVID. So he did his time. He did his 2 weeks. He did his time, did his 2 weeks. They didn't. Bilal Muhammad had some other names thrown at him. Nothing came up. So here we are, rescheduled. He trains at a Tiger Showman also. So Lyman Good trains with our boy up there, Shane Burgos, up there in New Jersey with Joe Budden and the boys. He's coming in off a win against Chance Rencounter. Chance Rencounter isn't really that big of an opponent. He's probably his second fight in the UFC. Prior to that, Lyman Good got subbed by Damian Maia. And Maia, who's not even... Lyman Good is jacked, bro. Lyman Good looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger compared to Damian Maia. And Damian Maia took his ass right down and choked his ass right out. So Lyman Good's looking to stand. He can't defend the takedown that good. Bilal Muhammad comes in, training out of Rufus Sport, cardio machine. This guy pushes the pace, similar to Neil Magny that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be looking... He was on an interview with John Anik saying, I'm looking short cage, man. I'm going to put him up against the cage. I'm going to take him down, and those muscles, they need oxygen. And I'm going to make him work for that oxygen. I'm expecting Bilal Muhammad to outwork him. Bilal Muhammad has 2 losses in the UFC to Jeff Neal. One of them is to Jeff Neal. The other being to Vicente Luque. So, I mean, he's got 2 pretty good losses on his record. Those were early in his career. He started off 1-2 in the UFC. Since then, he's gone on a winning streak. I think after he beats Lyman Good, he sees a number next to his name. So I'm going with Bilal Muhammad to beat Lyman Good.
Yeah, I promise I didn't copy your card, Ben, but I'm going with Muhammad here also. I think one thing that might benefit him a little bit that I think we've seen benefit these type of fighters throughout the comeback of the UFC, at least at the Apex arena, has been the shorter or the smaller octagon. And Bilal Muhammad's definitely a guy that's going to want to control the octagon, depending on, getting the guy up on the cage, and just having a less ground to cover is going to work in his advantage, I think. And he's going to be the more active guy. I think he has a little bit more gas in his tank than his opponent. And in these kind of fights, I that's kind of where I like to lean. So I'm going to take Muhammad here, a short favorite.
Hey, Ramadan's over. Bilal Muhammad's going to get it.
And that is a consensus. Hey, the thing that I love is that I heard it out of his mouth. I'm going to push him up against the cage, take him down, and make his muscles work for that oxygen. Bro, that's all I got to hear, man. Get cardio, 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 cardio. That's what we want to back. So Bilal Muhammad is a consensus play for We Talking About Sports podcast.
Could have been wacky, but...
Nah, it's going to be Bilal. All right, and then wrapping up the main card, the curtain jerker on the main card, actually, this is a catch weight fight, 160. Normally the weight class is 155. These guys are fighting at 160. Jim A10 Miller, 31-14 against Roosevelt the Predator Roberts, 10-1. Jim Miller, OG, veteran of the game. Hey, you think of a name that's in those lower weight classes, Jim Miller has fought them. Everybody. The dude is going to tie the record with Cowboy for most walks to the octagon in this fight with 35. Unfortunately for Jim Miller, a couple years back, he found out he had Lyme's disease. That's when he found out that he was gassing in his fights pretty quick. He found out, went and got treated, sat out a year, came back and won 2 fights. The thing about Jim Miller, bro, is he's pretty old, 36 years old. The guy has his own gym. He doesn't go and train. He doesn't outsource. Him and his brother, they have Miller Brothers MMA, and that's where he trains out of. So it's more of a homegrown camp. My understanding and my feeling is you can't always be the best guy at your gym unless you're like a champion. So if Jim Miller is the best guy at his gym, I know that he definitely he has a lot of time on Roberts, but he's not evolving at this stage. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's schooling everybody that's under him. Roosevelt Roberts, on the other hand, comes in at 26 years old. He's got 10 years on him. Tall dude, 6'1" for the weight class. Uses his reach. We saw him fight 22 days ago. Used his reach nicely. Got that quick finish off of our boy off the Dana White Contender Series, the Tribe guy. Oh. What was his name, Joe?
Well, he's not our boy anymore, the dog fighter.
I was going to say, no association with
that's
him,
true.
bro.
We found out that he's Mike Vick's boy, and he ain't our boy.
That's on the roll.
But yeah, anyway, Robert, bro.
They got loose.
Younger fighter, fresher fighter. I think that Jim Miller is better on the ground. I think that Roberts has to use his push kicks, jab, use his range, fight a stand-up point fight. I mean, he could probably drop Jim Miller because his chin's not what it used to be. So give me the 2-1 favorite here in the Predator, Roosevelt Roberts.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Again, this one's a pretty easy pick for me. Roosevelt Roberts. He's a fresher fighter. He's a younger fighter, and I think he's both. He has the advantage in both aspects of the game on the mat. I mean, on with his back on the mat, on the ground, standing up with his length. I think he's gonna win this fight pretty easily. What's the line on this fight? Does anybody know?
While you're looking up the line, I'm just gonna let you know I got Roberts winning. I think Miller's somewhat of a gatekeeper now to the top 15. You know, you win against him and you can get in that top 15 echelon. And I think he's pretty much kind of fighting out that contract for the most part. So give me Roberts on this one at the catch weight 160.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me get us a line real quick.
I would have liked this one to be a pick, but since it's at 160, it's a little weird.
I have a minus 230.
230. Yeah, so it's kind of hefty. A good parlay piece, though.
Yep.
Because honestly, he should smother and handle Jim Miller. The speed advantage is going to be Rowdy in this fight. Right. He's got a definite speed advantage. So this is a parlay piece, in my opinion.
I think I'm parlaying this one along with Blades and
and
Rocky.
That. Y'all want to make that? We could do two consensus.
No, that's my personal play. I don't want to give a consensus.
No, let's give out a little parlay, just.
If you're feeling frisky on Saturday night.
Okay, you know what? Because we didn't give out a pick last pick, let's do a parlay.
Let's go.
Parlay. Double up, like Nip said. Double up.
Get some plus odds, maybe.
So we're gonna,
nothing wrong with parlay. It doesn't hurt.
Roland, can you grab the odds while I introduce his last fight?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
On the odds on Blades and what's homeboy's name? Roberts.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, this last fight that Ben's about to introduce is probably the fight I'm most interested in, to be honest.
Yeah, this is probably one of the fan favorites, and it's kind of buried on the undercard. But we got in the lightweight division. This is on the prelims, so we got Frank the Crank Camacho, 22-8. And this is a pick'em fight against Matt Steamroller Fervola.
Yeah, buddy.
8-1-1. So like we said, this is buried on the undercard, but we're going to make a pick just based off of how evenly lined it is and how good of a fight we expect it to be. So coming into this, Frank Camacho, 17 out of his 22 wins are by KO or TKO. Recently, he took up a step up in competition. He fought Benil Dariush, and he did get handled pretty easily.
Choked.
Got taken to the ground and rear naked choked. Frank Camacho, he's a tough guy. His record in the UFC is 2-4, but he gets those fight of the night UFC bonuses, so Dana keeps him around. And I'm not saying he's a bad fighter, but he's very one-dimensional. He just wants to stand and bang, and whoever connects first, that's the way the fight's going to go. Matt Fervola, on the other hand, comes in from Sarah Longo MMA up there, and I'm gonna keep riding the good vibes, man. Aljo, we saw our boy Dewalishvili, the machine. I said he was gonna have 10 plus takedowns on Ray Borg. He got 13 takedowns on old Lopez. That's like a young Khabib, bro. He's got to learn some submissions, but they got a good one over there with the takedowns. I know a shitload of people won their DraftKings lineups because he had almost 200 points due to the 13 takedowns. So that was like unheard shit. But going back to this fight, bro, Fervola, he trains out of that camp, the good juju. He fought our boy, the Valley's own Luke Flores, on this Dana White Contender Series fight. And he kind of outlasted him, ended up subbing him. Then he went into the UFC, and his debut, he just wanted to put on a show. He did the Frank Camacho, and he just stood in the middle, rock him, sock him. He got caught, he got dropped. Learned a big lesson, especially out of that camp. We've seen Aljamain Sterling run a real crisp, good game plan. Hey, it might not be the best exciting. We're going to get the job done, and we're going to get it done. We saw Dewalishvili, wasn't the best takedowns, but he got them done consistently. I expect Fervola to take Camacho down. I don't know if he's going to keep him down, but I expect him to get him down consistently and win a decision here. So I'm going to go with Fervola.
Nice. I like that pick, but just for the sake of the competition, and since we're so closely ranked with one another, I'm gonna go with the guy kind of similar thinking with the Emmett pick. Just gonna go with the guy that's that's headhunting, the guy that's gonna look to stand in the pocket and bang, and I think he's gonna connect. That's why it's an evenly lined fight as it is. I don't think the steamroller is gonna have his way and get this guy to the mat. I think Camacho's gonna put his lights out. So let's go.
Yeah,
Take the lead finally.
Steamroller for me. Ever since I saw him against Luke, respected him for the win. I wasn't going for him on that situation. I was going for Luke. But after that, I've been following him just out of respect, and I like what I see with him. I expect, like Ben said, for Serra-Longo to get another win as a team. It seems like they got the hot hand right now. I don't know if the coaches will be there, if the situation is going to be the same for Longo not being there.
He's actually having a dude who fought like 2 cards ago. He got a sub. I forget his name, man, but he trains at a Serra-Longo. He was on the undercard, but that's his main cornerman. So it's still not going to be Longo. His dad and one of those dudes from Serra-Longo are going to be.
Either way, Mafrovola, Steamroller, let's get it done.
Let's get it. That wraps up MMA.
All right. Hey, let's talk about that parlay pick now that y'all got the odds.
So it's still not plus odds if you just take Blades. Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I put it. Well, still, it's not going to be plus odds with. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I thought I had it in, but it's going to be Curtis Blades and Roosevelt Roberts. Yeah. So on this one, it's still not plus odds, but if you put 100, you win 76. So I don't know exactly what that is. So let me just do the math real quick on my calculator.
120, 124. I expect Blades.
It's about minus 131. That's about minus 130.
I expect Blades to walk through Volkov, though, bro. That's the thing. And honestly, the only way that I see Jim Miller finishing Roosevelt Roberts is by sub.
And, and just so, for everybody that's out there, the parlay at minus 130, I mean, considering how confident all of us are in these picks, I mean, you can take a parlay like this with 2 large favorites in lieu of taking a chance on one of these short favorites that you might not feel comfortable in. So, I mean, sure, you need 2 guys to cash, but these are 2 guys who are highly likely to win just based on, their game plans going in and their respective strengths versus their opponents. So I think it's a pretty safe parlay, even though you're not getting plus odds.
Honestly, it's like getting Roosevelt Roberts at minus 131. That's what it is. Like, just being upfront. Listen, if Curtis Blades loses, we'll go streaking as a podcast.
No, don't say that.
Roland, it ain't gonna happen.
Dude, we're only 2-2. We gotta get the streak going.
We're 2-2, but we're about to be 4-2, and we're gonna be in the plus because we got 2 consensus: Bilal Muhammad minus 130 and 2-team parlay Curtis Blades and Roosevelt Roberts at minus 131.
All right. Well, that's it for We Talking About Sports podcast episode 9. Guys, anything else you want to close off with?
No, just thanks, guys, for sticking with us. We're hoping to stick to a solid day moving forward, just so we can get some consistency, so you guys know when to look for us in terms of a day. We're still, working things out in terms of a podcast, so I just ask that you guys, stick with us and, just continue to let us know what you're looking for in terms of content and other things like that. And, we're going to continue to have more people come on. So, yeah, thanks, guys, for continuing to listen.
Roland, don't take the blame for Skype and the hackers having us down on Monday. We're going to be dropping on Tuesdays. The problem is Skype was down on Monday due to T-Mobile and everybody else getting breached, and we couldn't record on Monday, so we pushed it to Wednesday. But be looking for us on Tuesdays. If I fucked up on your contest picks and the math is wrong, hit me up. I'll go back and look it up. Other than that, we're good.
All right, and just so y'all know, in 2 weeks, we do plan on doing a little NBA return episode. So go ahead and look out for that. That episode will be pure NBA talk, and we'll have a variety of topics and discussion on that. So please look forward to that. And that we'll go ahead and announce that on Twitter beforehand, just so everybody knows to look out, so to see if your team is being talked about. So go ahead and look forward to that. Roland, you got something else?
Yeah, and we're gonna post our our top 10 running backs. You know that Leo Diaz came on, Ben's brother, came on and gave his top 10. We're gonna post all four of our top 10s on Twitter, so you guys listen to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, however you guys receive this podcast. Go ahead and look for us on Twitter and post your top 10. I like seeing all the different thoughts and just think ways of thinking that goes into putting these top tens and what you like in a particular position. So
Absolutely.
definitely keep on coming with those top tens.
With the wide receiver one, we actually, I know we didn't touch up on it much, but we ended up seeing a lot of OBJ in the top 10. I know both me and Diego didn't have him in the top 10 just based on how much we've all shitted on Baker Mayfield, man. I mean, like, we were talking about running backs today and we were shitting on Baker Mayfield, and his only job is to put it in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt's chest, and we were still shitting on him.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, shout out Diego.
Yeah, shout out Diego for coming on too.
All right, man. All right, well,
Yeah, let's see
that's
those
it.
top tens. Baby.
Thank you.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.